Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Daily Bone podcast, where we discuss all things crypto market. That includes the majors like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and of course, meme coins and NFTs. Today, we're going to discuss Congress fighting for our airdrops. A little juicy news coming out of the U.S. Government right now, talking about all of our crypto airdrops. We're going to talk about the top news coming out of Singapore. We may check in on the boys as they're live at Karate Combat right now. And we're going to do a little deep dive into the Kingdom of Bhutan. Who would have thought that would be coming? And we're going to look at their surprise Bitcoin holdings, as well as like what their country is all about. Good morning. Good morning. I have my two other panelists, lovely 2-week co-hosts here. We got Kix and Signal. Kix, how you doing today?
Doing phenomenal. Can't wait to hear about this country I've never heard of before, because I like to brush up on geography, and I'm sure there's some interesting things going on there. Maybe it's a dictatorship. Maybe it's a kingdom. Maybe they still have a king. Maybe they have a lot of oil reserves. Maybe they don't.
Do you want to hear an interesting fact about Bhutan?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is
That's
one
where
of the most...
butane comes from, the gas?
No, spelt differently. Spelt differently, but
Okay.
but I like your enthusiasm.
Thanks.
No, it is firstly one of the most, it is the happiest country in the world, first of all.
Sign me
One of
up.
the most peaceful. But the interesting fact about it is that it is one of the most dangerous countries for a pilot to fly into. It is extremely difficult to fly into Bhutan, and the royal family only fly with like the equivalent of Bhutan Airways, because no other pilots in the world they really trust to do the job. A lot of people have unfortunately died trying to take off and land in the kingdom of Bhutan.
Is it the air conditions, or is it like the runway?
It's really high up. It's really high up in the mountains. In like, we're talking like the Himalaya type region up there. So when you're coming in over those mountains, I imagine the turbulence or something is just gonna
even the amount of oxygen, like the air pressure is different. All sorts of things. They don't got gravity. Probably isn't even as strong up there. I don't know how gravity works, but maybe it's less strong up there. But they do have a king, royal family.
Yeah, they do have a royal family, but it was actually on my list of countries to go to. It really was on my list of countries to go to a few years ago, but I unfortunately didn't make it across. But it is definitely one to put on the travel list. So I'm excited to know what's going on with their Bitcoin.
Consult them a little bit on diversifying their crypto portfolio.
Exactly. Diversify away from happiness and into Bitcoin. That's what I need to do.
You want depression? You want depression to go up in your country?
A bit more capitalism. Just add it into the happiness. But very cool. I like what we're going to be talking about today, Ray.
Yep, me too. And talking about Bitcoin, we saw like Bitcoin dominance go up a little bit, and I think we found the reason why ETH's been lagging so hard here. I don't know if you guys saw this one. This is Vitalik at Token 2049 on stage.
Yeah, these properties are from better than all the rest of them. It's mathematical. No more double spend is encryptable. Put your cash in your brain or it's bearable. A new form of wealth begins.
I don't know if you guys saw that little gem come out of the Token 2049 in Singapore. But I don't know how they keep letting him go on stage and dance and sing.
I think it's psychotic energy. I think like he knows what he's doing. He knows that it's awkward, and he knows that everybody that's watching it is cringing. So he's getting off on that. He's getting off on being really fucking awkward in front of people and making them do it. It's a power play on his part. He gets off on it, and we need to stop enabling and participating in his fetish, to be honest with you.
I like that take that he just lives for the cringe at this point. Love it.
The only thing I could think of when I saw that was like, no wonder Satoshi is anonymous for so many different reasons. I could think, Kix, your face wasn't saying that. Your face was not saying this is a power play. Your face was thinking about your bags, and you were cringing, and you looked like you wanted to get him off.
Terrible. I was also trying to understand what the fuck he was even saying, because like who mic'd him up, dude? Like, and the pitch of his voice is like the weirdest pitch level ever. It's like someone yelling a whisper. You know what I mean? Like I just can't. I don't even know what the fuck is he even talking about? Is he talking about Ethereum there? Is he talking about like some sort of?
I thought he was singing the Singaporean national anthem for a minute, but then
at least I could get behind.
Yeah, no, there's some like some ETH stuff in there, some tech talk, talking about like the mathematics and cryptology behind it, and the new form of money. You catch bits and pieces when you listen to it a couple times out of disbelief.
Oh,
All right.
well, ETH hit a low. I understand. ETH has hit another new low. So at least we know why. Yeah, I've got to say it's making me slightly nervous, and just wanted to kind of port my bags over to Bitcoin and have an anonymous the only anonymous founder who so far has not let us down.
Yeah, and even if it's the CIA, I'd rather an anonymous CIA than a public. I'm with you.
Gotta go. Half Basic says he's gotta go.
Yeah, let's fire him as CEO of Ethereum. He has
Ethereum.
to step down.
Oh, man, it's crazy like how much he's in the spotlight for like non-technical developments on the platform. It's just almost comical at this point. But we have a lot to cover today. So let's get the show on the road. Who wants to do the weather report today? We doing Kick, Signal, Kignal, Six?
Well, I Signal did it yesterday. I'll do it today, and then we'll wrap up Thursday, Friday with the combo wombo double whopper with the Happy Meal on top. You ready?
I like it.
All right, today is Wednesday, September 18th. Looking over at the crypto roundup, Bitcoin gained on the day while other majors lagged. Bitcoin is just shy of 60K, Ethereum at 2,300, and Solana at 129. The largest mover among the top 100 coins was helium, also a not so rare element, is down 7% on the day to a $1 billion market cap. Over the past 24 hours, Congress wrote a letter to the SEC urging Gary Gensler to clarify stance on crypto airdrops. The letter was co-signed by the chairman of the House Committee on Financial Services, Patrick Mahenry, and of course, House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. The letter states airdrops play an important role in incentivizing participation in blockchain-based application, which in turn contribute to the continued development, initial governance, and the ultimate decentralization of these networks. Let's go. Getting a little full court pressure on Gary Gensler. I heard since the Supreme Court said they can't regulate, now they're litigating. So buckle up if he's still in charge for the next year. Next up, Circle partnered with Brazil and Mexico to allow traditional banks to access USDC. Corporate customers can now interface directly with major banks to enable USDC payments on the blockchain. Finally, news broke this morning from anonymous sources that UK-based trading platform Revolt is planning to launch its own stablecoin. The fintech giant, valued at over $45 billion, has been expanding its crypto offerings over the past year. That's it for the weather report. Back to you in the studio. Man, Revolt, $45 billion.
Kix, it has been so long since you've made a mistake in with a word. You used to have some phenomenal pronunciation of words.
I was messing up a little bit today.
No. It's Revolut, but don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Did I say revolt? Did I just miss the L in
it? Yeah, you said revolt, but it brings back really good memories of some of the new words you have invented.
You know what? Because I skip ahead when I'm reading, and I saw $45 billion. I said, "How the fuck these guys valued at $45 billion?" As I'm about to read the name, so I completely just their revenue is 850 million GBP. Wow. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, like $1 billion.
Yeah, absolutely crazy because they've been jumping into like crypto. Like they've been adding more and more like trading options. We've been talking about them over the last year. It's awesome to see like the UK actually like leading in some of that crypto innovation, which is awesome.
Well, it's actually a Russian and Ukrainian UK.
Yeah, the founders, I think the co-founders are Russian and Ukrainian, and they started off like, I want to say, probably like 8 to 10 years ago. So it's a financial app, and essentially they came in and completely disrupted how banking apps were done. Back in the day, your banking app was just so rubbish, and they came in, just completely disrupted that area, made it just smooth and seamless and yummy to be able to send money and exchange money really easily. And they didn't take any, that was it. The big thing was back in the day when you used to exchange money, they used to take a huge markup on that. And so, you'd put in your $100 and you want your pounds, and all of a sudden you'd be getting like £50, and you're like, what? how is that even possible when, xe.com is saying I should be getting a lot more? So they basically took away the spread. And so you're just doing the bid offer. So people loved it for that. And they grew and grew over time. And then slowly over the last couple of years, they've been going into crypto. The only thing that I really didn't like about the app when they first started was you could buy Bitcoin, but then to actually get the Bitcoin, you had to actually transfer back into either dollars or pounds or whatever. So you could never actually take your Bitcoin off the platform. Now they've added more meme tokens, really the biggest one so far. But it's good to hear that they're going into stable coins. I think like for the Europeans overhead, this is the app to be using if you want to be in fiat and in the non-fiat system.
I want to know what they were teaching kids in Soviet Russia that make them so proficient at the blockchain.
Coding.
Yeah, I also saw a news article saying that like Russia's like paying China solely in crypto right now for its weapons, which is wild. I know we want mass.
That's cool. Weapons on the blockchain, man.
Yeah, we want mass adoption.
Does anyone have their wallet? Shouldn't we? I just kind of want to see a weapon transaction go down.
Yeah, so you see just like 4.5 billion to China, and then just kind of
just one transaction. They don't even send a test transaction. They're like, this better be your address, China. You better not have messed it up, man, because I'm about to send you $100 million for this new nuke we're working on.
Yeah, it's crazy that like with blockchain, like internationally, we're seeing more and more stable coins as well. So we can circle back, pun intended, to the story about Circle and their USDC usage in Brazil and Mexico. I mean, we're seeing like incremental stories like this with, all these companies launching stable coins, World Liberty Financial talking about stable coins, Revolut launching their own stable coin, Circle being one of the biggest players in the space now, like expanding to countries and their institutional like foundations, like big banks in Brazil and Mexico are now able to use USDC and offer it to their corporate customers. Like this is what adoption looks like. Like this is payment rails on the blockchain globally. And I think it's happening almost faster than people realize. It's just like we're seeing this steady cadence of improvements globally. And I think that it kind of goes under the radar. I don't know what your thoughts on this. Like where do we stand in terms of global adoption as like payment of crypto being like the global standard? Why don't we go to Signal first?
Well, actually, what's interesting about Circle is that I thought that they weren't going to continue to have their offices, like their main headquarters in the US, simply because of the regulatory scene. And they were meant to, if I understand correctly, they were actually meant to IPO in France. At the time, I think this was around FTX. There was a lot of incentives for them to move over to Europe because the regulation was a lot clearer. So interesting to see that that's not happening and they're sort of doubling down on the US. These stories I find really interesting to follow because even though they're not sort of making waves, pumping bags, pumping anything really, what they are showing is that the payment rails and the infrastructure is all being laid right now. And we saw this as well with Base last week with Coinbase's news about Base with the news last week. And so these infrastructure players, I really like them. I want to continue to see them because this actually is what mass adoption looks like. It's not people coming in to buy meme coin bags. It's really being able to go to your bank and being able to offer on-ramp and off-ramp crypto very easily between retail and between business. So these kind of stories, the more that we see of them and the more we see of them in the US is the right step in the right direction. But I still think we are probably a good half decade away from actually seeing crypto being sort of integrated into life in the same way that the Revolut app is. That it's just so seamless. You can do anything without having to run through KYC, without having to sort of run over those admin gauntlets. I still think we're probably around half a decade away from that, but it's coming.
Any thoughts there, Kix?
Yeah, man. I mean, stable coins are great, dude. I don't know. I think Signal summed it up very well. I don't got anything else to add. But more money on the blockchain, the better, because if it's in stable coins, it can be put into all sorts of other lovely things.
All right, we'll move on then. We'll jump over to Congress protecting our airdrops. A couple of Republican senators ranking pretty high up in Congress, like on some pretty big committees. Patrick McHenry and Tom Emmer sent a letter over to Gensler asking for a bit of clarity on our airdrops, and kind of like pointing out the use cases for airdrops, which is like super interesting. Like, I don't know if this is going to move the needle much, but just seeing that Congress understands the fundamentals behind the crypto economy makes me very bullish on like where we can be going in the future. It's no longer like an afterthought. People are actually getting educated on this. I don't know if you have any takeaways from this, Kix, or if you have any thoughts on like where we could be heading.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I hope that we're heading in a more rational spot in America for crypto, because honestly, it's just stupid. I mean, if you think about it, the amount of apps out there that just by default, the default strategy right now is block US users from the airdrop. That's the default strategy. Like, and it's like US users in like North Korea and Iran. That's like, who we're, grouped up with, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? When you think about it logically, okay, all of those airdrops, that's potential tax revenue, right? So it's just this like stupid thought process where it's like we've created such a perverse regulatory thing that people just ban US users. Of course, plenty of people just use a VPN to get around to get the airdrop, right? But it's just completely illogical, and it's definitely hurting innovation in America and US consumers' ability to participate. They need to do this, but then they also need to send another letter to the IRS and say that you guys are wrong classifying airdrops as income. That's also dumb. And it's just, archaic bureaucrats just, dude, you fast forward 20 years from now, America's not going to be great. I'm just telling you. It just straight up the direction that it's heading with all this stuff, man. Because any new thing that comes out, our whole concept is to like regulate it and clamp down on it. And that's just the antithesis of innovation, man. So we got to be careful about that stuff. But yeah, man, they need to fix this. But it's the problem is like, what is Gary going to say in response to that, right? It's Gary's actions going around. It's Gary suing all of these different companies that is causing people not to want to airdrop to the US. Like they can't just be like, hey, can you give some clarity? Sure, man. If you sign up for our ambiguous, securities registry, then you're good to go. But no one can sign. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no. What the reality is, we all know what the reality is. He needs to get out. The whole SEC commission needs to get reshaped in a way that is not, hey, they look at crypto as a gold mine. They look at it as, we're just going to sue anybody that has a lot of money in crypto and take their money. That's literally like mafia shakedown level shit. And that's what the SEC just does. I think they take $5.5 billion, $5.5 billion from the crypto community lifetime. Have they saved a single retail customer or stopped a single retail customer from getting scammed or anything like that? No. Did they stop FTX? No. All they do is they do a shakedown, mafia shakedown. They say, hey, where's our 10%? You made a lot of money? Cool. You want to operate in crypto? Cool. I'm going to shake you down. That's what it is currently. And that's the 90% of the issue. But then 10% of the issue, yes, the IRS needs to classify airdrops as capital gains, because it makes no sense as an airdrop that you can claim an airdrop and because of the volatility of crypto, it can go down by 90%. They say it's a dividend. Guess what? When you get a dividend from a company, it's not as volatile as this. It's just not, right? Isn't it a dividend in dollars? Right? I think so. You get a dividend in dollars, the dollars can't go anywhere. You get a you get an airdrop, it goes down, you claim it goes down by 90%, but taxes on the top, that's messed up too. But the 90% is the Gary, needs to go.
Yeah. I mean, all it's going to take is everyone just dusting Congress wallets with low liquidity, a high float tokens that have some absurd valuation at launch. Just airdrop that to all of Congress and see how they feel about paying taxes on those unrealized.
Yeah, gains. There should be some sort of way that you can like airdrop someone in real life, like without knowing their address. Like just you walk around like, you got an airdrop, dude. Now you got to pay. That's too bad. You own it now, dude.
It's weird because obviously if Gensler stays in place, it's going to be 4 years of more of the same. That's kind of depressing when you think about it like that. That you're just going to have somebody at the head of the SEC who's so negative and combative to the crypto industry that will have another 4 years if the Democrats win. So the only way that I see immediate change coming is really if the Republicans win. Now, obviously, this is like a single issue vote, as you guys like to call it. So, it doesn't affect that many people. But I think, 4 years is a long time when you're giving other countries like China, Japan, Singapore, all of the countries who see crypto as the present, while the US still kind of sees it as the future. And that's a significant head start. Even the UK, I mean, and we've definitely had our problems. Even the UK is sort of giving clarity around crypto and how it relates to personal property over sort of other types of property. So it really feels like this election for crypto is extremely important. Otherwise, it's another 4 years of meme coins.
Yeah, dude. Exactly, man. And that's not healthy for the space. Like there needs to be clarity so that and also it affects the entrepreneurs that want to come and build in crypto.
That's
like
the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It stops the innovation because people in the US, if they're smart, they're like, I'll just go work in AI or I'll just go work in any other tech sector other than crypto. And I don't have to like worry about like sleeping at night. Europe is usually behind us on tech stuff, right? And like we usually get to make fun of Europe for like being the regulators on our innovation, like putting like the cookie GDPR pop up on the site. But when it comes to crypto, Europe is actually innovative. And in like Germany, you don't have to pay taxes if you hold crypto for a year. It's 0% tax. It's crazy.
Yeah, the cookie thing really has changed my life. It's incredibly annoying. But the point is that the US, that's exactly how that's exactly how the US won the tech race. It was simply a case of if you're really, really smart and you're entrepreneurial and you think you can contribute to the essentially what Silicon Valley was, they just made it extremely open and easy for you to be able to get a visa to work in the US. And that is literally how the US won the tech race. And that is just not the case. That there is literally a brain drain happening right now where the people who would have stayed are now moving to other countries where the regulation is clear. And the only people that are actually staying are the large entities that have the power to change regulation, which is why like, I think if Coinbase ever decided to move, which I don't think they will, but if Coinbase ever decided to move, it's really the last standing gladiator for the US. I would think that would probably put the country back a couple more years. So let's see.
And I'll just go ahead and say it real quick. I'm not sure if it'll work out this way, but I think AI and crypto, like I think it makes sense that AI would use crypto payment infrastructure. Like if you have an AI agent that's like moving around money for you, right? So if you're like, hey, you got this AI agent, and you're like, hey, like I need you to pay all my bills every month, like take care of my expenses or whatever, and then like spit me out a report, let me know how my expenditures are going. Way easier to hook that into the blockchain than to like give that AI agent like your credit card, you know what I mean? And like your billing address and like the expiration and the CVV. Be like, hey, have this when you go around and like do all of these things. If they could, I don't know. I think AI using a digital financials, like purely digital financial system makes sense. So we may hamstring ourselves with AI innovation 5 years from now. Who knows?
Yeah, I saw Brian Armstrong. He posted, here it is. He posted a little AI on Base example of AI actually making I think it's the first transaction on this new platform. He wrote an article that AIs are now paying other AIs with crypto, which was pretty cool. I think I don't know all the details here. I like kind of skimmed this when it came out a couple weeks back, but they're basically going to like allow payment rails for AI, like not only like just on the blockchain, but they're going to be offering like SDKs for companies to allow like AI to like check out. So like AI can go on Fiverr and hire somebody essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
And things like that. Yeah. Which is absolutely nuts when you
spin up a cloud server to run something on it and be able to do it autonomously without like you having to go whip out your credit card and set up the whole thing for them and then give them the information if they can just go ahead and do that. That's definitely what's going to be big on the horizon the next couple of years. So yeah, anyways, US stop being bozos about crypto, but it's just depressing how little shits are given. Then again, I mean, we don't have the best track. I mean, we banned alcohol for like 8 years, right? With a constitutional amendment, didn't we? Or
apparently, well, I learned this from Emily in Paris, but apparently President Macron actually banned dry January in France. So like,
see, I like
America,
that.
Exactly. It just on two.
He banned dry January. So if you're trying not to drink in January, you can go to jail. I fucking love that guy.
I love it. I love it as well. No, in France, no, January, everyone's still drinking. Everyone is still, and in fact, I think if you try, because it's funny, in the UK is the only time you actually see people be like, oh, it's okay, you know, you don't have to drink. But in France, it's like, no, they carry on. Just have that for breakfast.
Oh, Bhutan, you're not my friend no more.
What? That was not a French accent.
Let's pivot over to some more somber news. I know this one's going to get Signal a little upset. We saw Iggy Azalea pull out of her Solana Breakpoint debate with Eric Wall. The long and short of it is that she wanted to do some viral moment essentially at the debate where she had like dancers, like paid dancers in business suits spread out throughout the audience and have them like kind of come on stage and like twerk and dance during her closing remarks to like essentially like prove a point of virality, because I think one of her major like pillars of her argument on meme coins and why they're good is kind of virality and like tokenizing virality. There's some back and forth with Solana about Singaporean law, and eventually it came to she wasn't allowed to do it, so she's pulling out of the debate against Eric Wall here. I know you were looking forward to this one, Signal. What are your thoughts here?
My thoughts was I was going to win. I was going to win. If she hadn't been in Singapore and there were some sort of like people on the board who were a little bit more, looser, she would have won the debate. And I always knew she was never going to go into this debate like, with her mind on. And like when I say that, she's never going to enter a debate with Eric and try and win on technicalities. That's not her strength. Her strength is that she's a performer, she's an entertainer, she's charming, she looks great in less clothes. And that was her strategy. And what would have happened out of this debate is that she would have probably lost on the technicals, but people wouldn't have remembered that because they would have remembered this moment. And that was going to be her strategy to win the debate. So like, I feel like in theory, I won, but in practical, Pio won. Actually, no, Pio didn't win because this debate, I think, is not even going to happen. So,
no action.
Yeah, nullified. The bet is nullified. Like, yeah, it's sad to see. It's sad to see this happen because Singapore, if you know where to go, it's a pretty loose country. But she was speaking to the wrong people. She doesn't know the people that I know in Singapore. But yeah, no, sad to see it happen. But Mother probably tanking after this. I haven't looked at the Mother token, but luckily I used it last week and not this week. Does it tank much?
Yeah, we went on a little 11 mil out of 60. So was that 16% ish, 12% on the 24 hours there. So tough day, but I know she's still having the Mother party, and I'm sure there's still going to be some virality coming out of the conference. I don't know, like the future of this token was really like hinging on that debate. It would have had some cool sound bites, I'm sure, and would have had some interesting like clips coming out of it. But I think that she's going to continue to do her thing, and I think that this token is just going to be around for a while.
Yep, it's in my meme coin portfolio, and I'm going to keep it because she had it. She had it all in theory, just didn't execute right. But anyway, on to other things, Ray. What else is cooking?
Speaking of tokens that are going to be around for a while, remember we talked about this one, and we were like looking at this candle. This is Neiro when it was listed on Binance, the not top market cap Neiro. We were looking at it 150 mil the other day. It is now 2x over 2x from there. 350 mil on this. Binance listed this token. There's a little bit of controversy earlier in the week. The like leading Neiro token on ETH was not listed. This one was a much lower market cap. Since then, this one is clearly, it's done a 20x from its 17 mil market cap just from that Binance listing. Absolutely bonkers thing. Just wanted to point that out while we were on the subject of meme coins. But we can move on. I don't think there's too much to like jump into there.
I'm sure Binance wasn't quietly accumulating the token for a month as they negotiated the launch deal. Sad state of affairs when this is, honestly, this is the most interesting thing I've heard about. I'm not even saying that, I'm saying that as like a reality. This is the most interesting, Neiro, man, another dog, cool, another Shibu. Awesome, man. Yeah, dude. Oh, man. Yeah, dude. Let's buy it, bro. Maybe we'll go higher.
CZ's bored in his halfway house, ready to get out. He's like, okay, just here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the second Neiro. It was the first one released on the chain, so we have some legs to stand on. It's not at a 0 market cap, so it's still legitimate. Let's load up all the wallets. Let's jump in and then let's pump this thing to the moon.
Hey, dude, you don't get to be a multi-billionaire in crypto by not doing that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? You don't get billions and billions just by longing ETH.
Clearly not. Clearly not. Given
Speaking
Vitalik
of
is sitting.
crypto millionaires, I kind of want to jump into this and talk about the royal government of Bhutan for a little bit. So this jumped into the
Dude,
spotlight.
love their logo, man.
You're gonna love their flag too. Their flag is awesome. So here we go. Let's jump in real quick. So we got royal government of Bhutan, Arkham Intelligence, which is an analytics platform. I have it pulled up here on screen if you're watching on YouTube. They provided the dashboard. They found the wallets associated with the government. All of this Bitcoin has been mined. They have $783 million worth of Bitcoin, right around 13,000 Bitcoin. It's all been mined. They have a lot of renewable energy in the country. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. We have somebody from the crowd here. We have a special guest. I think I'm going to bring him on stage now. Let's do it. We have live from Singapore. We've got Clemente.
Dude, sorry, it's super loud. Terrible audio, terrible. It's a disaster out here. We can pop on. It's
Yo, look at that. Live from Casey mid-fight. We've got Clemente. You can see Nick in the background. They got those VIP seats. They're having a great time. We're watching the fight. They're on the Daily Bone podcast. Say hi to everybody here listening at home.
We can actually hear the audio right now. Is one of the most annoying things. We wanted to grab headphones so we could actually participate.
Nick, can you hear me right now?
We have some really big breaking news going on live
Nick,
here.
keep talking if you're down bad.
A couple of people just did injure each other. One guy seems to potentially have a permanent neck injury. I'm hoping that he actually survives this incident.
He's all right. He's good.
He's good?
He's moving. Peter says he's fine.
Very damaging incident. We still can't hear you. Kicks, respond to my text messages. That'd be great. Because you are managing one of my bets, and I think we're up 5x. I hope you sold some of it. That was the Thread Guy bet for those that are listening. We're up 4x. Okay, let's go. Let's get the 4x game. Nick's just making money left and right here. The other report, I would say, you got to speak close to the mic, though. The other report I would give you is watch out for some breaking news tomorrow from BitBoy Ben Armstrong. We got the inside. We did get the NIA. We did get the inside scoop. Just know that it's about to get
drinks they've got going. Just holding them.
Yo, let's break the news right here. No, we can't do that. I'm not gonna betray my guy BitBoy.
All right. I know this. I wish we could hear you guys. But I hope you guys are doing great.
Yep, we are. Okay, we're going to cut out on them now. Great to see our boys over at KC48 or KC49 in Singapore. We got some live action from the crew. Awesome to see them. Glad to see some familiar faces. I'm sure everyone in the audience really appreciates it. Yeah, that's awesome. That fight's going on right now. I can link the YouTube link. I'm going to put it in the YouTube
Which
comments.
fight is it, Ray? Which fight are they at?
They're at so right now it looks like it's post fight. I'm gonna share the stream right now. It's free to watch on YouTube if anyone wants to jump in. They're doing post fight interviews. They're still on the main card, I believe. They're not into the influencer fight club. That happens towards the end. I'd say probably about an hour away from that if you're interested in those bets. I know I've got some money on Polymarket on some of the influencer fight club, so I'm gonna be watching them with a close eye today. But yeah, should be a good time. It looks like they're having a ton of fun out there, and a little bit of FOMO here, holding down the fort while they're out. What do you guys think?
I have FOMO. I have FOMO from Clemente slurring and the guy with the bad neck injury after the fight. I have so much FOMO. It looks really, really fun. And the timeline and just the reports of the people I've kind of spoken to is that Breakpoint has been absolutely great. It kind of feels like it's what NYC used to be. When it first started, what NFT NYC used to be, and then it sort of faded off over the last couple of years. But it just looks like people in Singapore are having great time, great parties, great networking. Yeah, I've got FOMO. Not gonna lie.
Sorry about that, Ray. I was just Nick's money manager, so I had to handle some things real quick for him.
Close out some positions there. A little what was it? A thread guy interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him trying to get down on that action. But picking up where we were, I know it started a little bit less exciting looking at analytics dashboards here as they're partying in Singapore. But we were talking about the royal government of Bhutan. So I've got some fun facts about Bhutan. Signal gave some earlier. They don't really, measure GDP or value GDP as much as they talk about GDH, which is gross domestic happiness. They have their own metric that is now established worldwide for happiness of citizens. In 1999, the government lifted a ban on television and the internet, making Bhutan one of the last countries to introduce television, which is kind of wild considering how far they've come. They just had TV not even for 30 years at this point, and now they're mining Bitcoin. So real quick adoption on the technology curve there. They have a population of 780,000 people. Just for some context, that's less than the city of San Francisco. And now they have the 5th highest Bitcoin holdings of any country in the world. They're above even El Salvador, which is kind of known for their Bitcoin position and dominance. Some wild stuff here. I know I wanted to show you this flag, Kicks. This flag right here is the thunder dragon, the official animal of Bhutan. But we bring up the story. We're talking a lot of fun facts. But when it comes down to it, you're seeing more and more countries, and not even major countries, put their chips in on Bitcoin. And I'm going to be very curious to see what that looks like in terms of how it elevates their positioning if crypto adoption kind of continues to grow worldwide.
Dude, I'm gonna get one of these fucking mountain houses in Bhutan, dude. I'm sure I can get a fucking mountain castle for cheap right now. Not cheap for, dude. That's pretty much a synthetic bet on Bitcoin. Buying Bhutanese is, I'm assuming, the plural of that, Bhutanese real estate. Also, very rich history. When you were talking earlier, I was going through because I was just wondering, how do they still have a king? There's not many kings anymore because the New World Order is taking over, right? And they don't like kings. They like people they can puppeteer a little bit. That's why the commies got rid of the king of Russia in the 1900s, right? I mean, that's just science. That's just facts. So I'm wondering, how the hell's Bhutan still rocking, right? How they not in trouble? It's because they're up in the mountains, man. You can't get them. You can't get them up there. What are you going to do?
Fly to them. I mean, it's pretty much impossible to fly to them. And actually, I just looked it up again, and there's only two airlines that fly into it. And if you're a pilot, you need a special license to even fly into there. And another thing I remember about Bhutan, because this is how they stay happy, is they keep tourists away by just heavily limiting the number of visas that they give out. But the thing about this, which just makes it it just makes it so interesting when, you step away from the news of what is happening on sort of the US side about how countries are positioning themselves in crypto, and to see, I think to see countries which, I would still call Bhutan a sort of a developing country, but also developed countries position their treasuries so heavily in an asset, which in my point of view is still incredibly underpriced at what we're seeing around this 58K, let's call it 60K mark. And it just feels like this is really still the accumulation phase for many entities. And 5 to 10 years from now, these numbers are going to look extremely different and probably a lot higher than we are now. We'll be looking back at this moment and just being like, what? And I think sometimes when you watch, when you read a specific narrative coming out of Western media about Bitcoin specifically, it's the same narrative over and over again. And when you see the governments and, people like Gary Gensler who do actually influence sort of, the everyday person's point of view on what Bitcoin and what crypto is, it really makes a difference because people just continue to be like, it's something that's not important. But if you actually look outside of the US and you see that a lot of countries are and pretty much have it on their balance sheet, and it just feels like it's going to be one of those assets that people will be look back and be like, wow, XYZ country has a ton of this asset. Then they're going to go and make a mistake and sell all of it, like, how the UK did with their gold treasuries. And then 20, 30 years later, it's seen as a huge mistake. So I still think that even though we call this whole, that's a very nice property. Even though we call this whole, period sideways summer, I feel like it's just still the accumulation phase. And this is probably still one of the most interesting times to just be buying Bitcoin at at 60K. I think you really have to step back and look at the macro of like what companies are doing, like MicroStrategy, what Bhutan, what Venezuela, what all of these countries are doing. Because like I said, these countries see Bitcoin and crypto as the present. They don't see it as the future. And I think if you look at what the US is doing, or even what Europe is doing, you'll make a mistake. And if you look at what the actual world is doing, you'll see the direction that everyone is heading.
Ray, how much is it going to cost us in American dollars? Or
I don't know.
even
We need to look into this.
The only problem, it's probably affordable, but we could die flying there. That's what I'm picking up on.
Yeah, I'm looking at, what is it, new 0.17 million.
But dude, it makes sense. Yeah, do the conversion for a signal. It makes sense why Bhutan would want to store their value in cryptocurrency as opposed to, for example, gold. Imagine how expensive it is to fly lots of gold in an airplane, and imagine if the airplanes crash going to Bhutan. That's not safe, right?
Well,
what are they going to?
How much money the US must put into Fort Knox? Just Fort Knox. I don't
think there's any gold in there anymore. I think
probably
the aliens a long time ago. I think it's all.
Yeah, probably isn't very much. But I imagine the amount of money they spend on Fort Knox just to secure it, compared to if they just had it on a ledger.
Exactly.
Would be significantly different.
The king probably has it on his Schmiter. What do they call it? A little king staff? He probably has the ledger just sitting at the top. we shall take over Asia with this right here. Who are they next to? They're next to
next to Nepal.
China, I believe.
Yeah, they're both Buddhist, but they're gonna have to take over Nepal with their winnings. Fun fact, signal pop quiz. Name another country in Southeast Asia that has a king with a similar population size to Bhutan that also starts with a B.
I'm looking at the map right now. Southeast Asia, country beginning with B, similar population. No, they don't have a king. The only country that came to me was Bali. I can't think of it, King.
That's not a bad guess. I just want to make sure that they have a king. Yeah, they still got a king. Brunei.
Brunei. Okay. Yep.
Brunei. I know that because our front end devs from Brunei. Random fun fact.
Oh, there we go. Look at that.
Yeah. Yep, and they have a king.
The billionth barrel monument.
Yep, billionth barrel because they make that money on that oil, dude. Yeah. The guy that was working for me, he was like, I had two jobs. He was like, I basically went to college. I was going to go be an oil engineer for the rest of my life. But like, we hired him to do front end dev. Phenomenal front end dev. He's like, it's great because now I don't have to sit on an oil rig for 6 months every year. I was like, hey, it's a mutual relationship right here. You're doing great work for us.
Yeah, that's a pretty big job shift. Oil rig to front end dev. I don't want to talk too much more about this because I don't want people getting in. We'll have a call after this. We'll start looking at the real estate. We'll figure out where we're going to buy.
Yeah,
but I don't want too many people jumping in.
We don't get front ran.
Yeah, exactly. I want to jump over to WinterMute announcing outcome markets. Did you see this news yesterday?
I did. Actually, there was multiple prediction market announcements yesterday.
Yep. This one was interesting because what I'm gathering from this announcement, they're starting out with the election market, and it's going to be like token and smart contract based. It's going to be on Ethereum base and Arbitrum. So you're going to be able to like buy Trump or Harris tokens, and then you can like leverage these tokens on DeFi platforms. So like not only do you have your bet that would eventually like resolve to one of these tokens, I guess, being worth $1. I don't know the exact details, but then you can like leverage your position using DeFi.
Very interesting. Yeah, I had to see the logic behind it because, like, I know, for example, Sway on Base, they have like a similar, like, basically, like each side of the prediction market is like a meme coin, then the meme coin can live on, but it can be a little bit challenging to try to make everything equal $1. But yeah, this is definitely interesting. Another interesting one, OX Small Brain. So this group, they've been launching like these interesting like mini games, I would say, kind of in crypto on-chain games a lot. But they just launched TMR News. It's fully on-chain, so it resolves one of the biggest problems with like prediction markets, right? Is that you need some sort of like third-party resolution, right? Like UMA Oracle is the popular one, right? If you can resolve things like atomically, meaning like you can pull the information on-chain and it's 100% going to be accurate, and you don't need a third party to resolve it. Solves a lot of problems, right? So this is a fun little like mini game version of a prediction market that they created. Every day, a market is created for tomorrow's New York Times front page headline. Predict the headline by submitting any sentence. Payouts happen based on how semantically similar your guess is to the truth. They pull in the New York Times headline in onto the chain, and then they resolve all of this with some on-chain wizardry. But I thought that was fun, and I liked that it was different. A lot of people are kind of copy-pasting Polymarket, right? But from a consumer perspective, this like kind of, it's not like Wordle, right? But you can kind of see this kind of being like a Wordle kind of challenge in the sense of like it's a fun gamified kind of version of a prediction market, right?
Oh, they should have done
right?
the Sun in the UK. I mean, I don't read the New York
They
Times.
could, right? They could probably easily spin it out to other
no,
newspapers.
but the Sun. So the New York Times, I don't read it, but I'm guessing their headline is going to be like, something like, very traditional. I can't think of anything, but Fed decided to cut basis points XYZ, very traditional. The Sun, which is a UK newspaper, is known. It's a trash newspaper. Very famous for its page 3, where I don't know if they still do it, but it used to have a not naked, but like halfway naked on page 3, and it was a huge thing. And so men used to love it because it's the first page you turn, and there she was, just topless right there. But they were very famous for that, and their headlines. They had the best, snappiest headlines. So there was a very famous footballer called Gary something, can't remember his name, and he beat his wife, and it was a huge thing.
At what game?
No.
Domestic
violence.
Yeah.
Sorry, domestic violence.
Yeah.
And the next day, and her name was Sharon, and the next day the headline was Gaza has a Bazarat Shazza. Now try predicting that headline for the next day. No one is going to get that. So I think they need to move away from the New York Times and go for
you need it like where it's super
page 3 and catch newspaper headline.
Yeah. Also, you can probably go down to the New York Times, break into the New York Times office, commit a misdemeanor up to a felony, and go find out literally the headline. If it's big enough.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I don't think I'd go the felony route. Personally, I would just go on Tinder and keep swiping until I find someone who works at the New York Times.
Oh, I love you, Signal.
And then I would like profile myself so they like me back. And then I'd keep doing that to all the staff. And then once I get a date, I'd go on a date. And then I'd keep
how was your day at work? Were you guys focused on any top stories?
Did you see the Bhutan news? Did you see the Bitcoin Bhutan news?
What are some of the interesting vernacular ways that your editor likes to describe headlines? Just random question. I don't know. I'm just interested in it.
Exactly. So everyone has their strategy cakes. You go commit a
God, you're smart.
Go on dates.
I'm like the Watergate guy. I get arrested. They're like, "Oh, you idiot!" Like we had security cameras, dude. What do you think you're doing? That they have me like going through the, air conditioning unit, like breaking through, but like I collapsed. Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah. It snaps. The cord snaps halfway through. Oh, good times.
I love your motivation to get the next day's page headline. Does this make you want to go and use a platform, or are you going to stick with your traditional favorites?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like I feel like I'm more willing to use it. And also I think that there's more chance of like getting like actual adoption with not the maybe exact concept that Small Brains is doing, but these guys are smart at like trying innovative things. Like I think whoever's going to compete with Polymarket is going to do stuff like that, right? Where it's like, it's more like gamified predictions, or it's like in an app form, right? So it looks like a mobile app and you're just like answering fun different things. It has to be different than like the niche that Polymarket has carved out. I just feel like, and if Polymarket gets beaten, it's like an open sea blur scenario. It's one that's going to beat them. And then if that happens, just like in NFTs, I just switch platforms, right? Like it's not going to impact me. So I'm just going to stay on Polymarket. The only thing that would drag me off would be people doing something that's like really interesting or different. The problem is like a lot of people are trying to go the route of like, oh, why don't we have these like kind of KOLs create all these different interesting markets, right? the amount of edge cases when it comes to like manipulation or like unsure resolution and all these different, there's already manipulation that happens on Polymarket, right? So you best bet like on these other things. So it has to be something like what Small Brain said. No one can like, without being a massive paranoid person, be like, oh, it's like, you know, they manipulated the New York Times headline to win, right? That's why I think these types of games or like prediction market games are interesting. And I could see some people, you would need more than just the New York Times headline, right? You need like more than just that one thing. But like if they took that style and they had like 10 or 20 markets that kind of functioned like that, you know what I mean? I think it could have some success.
Yeah, you could do some interesting option stuff on like stock prices and things that have like obvious oracles.
Let's start a prediction market together. Everybody's doing it. Us three should do it.
Yep, let's do it. We'll do it live on the show. The show will just be us like live working. Like we're working with like Claude, doing a little bit of coding.
Dude, people love live deving. This guy on Twitch, Ray, making video games, live devved it for like a year and a half. Now the game's fully funded. He gets like 400 viewers watching him. His code is fight. It looks like a fun game. It's like a pirate kind of like a like ship, get into islands, fighting the people, like Revolutionary War era. So yeah, man, it's the new way. Founder, but we could actually just make a meme coin for our prediction market and live stream us developing the product on Pump.fun.
Yeah, love that. That's great. Just do the whole thing right on the platform.
Right there.
You can stream.
You can get in early to this idea. We're literally typing the first lines of code into Cursor as we speak. Go check out the Pump.fun coin.
We're going to wrap up here shortly. I just want to touch on one more thing, Kicks. We have the rate cuts today coming from Jerome Powell this afternoon. We talked a little bit about it, but I thought it was interesting. Arthur Hayes predicting short-term market crash. He said it's effing Fed day. Arthur Hayes hit the main stage, talked about the macroeconomics. So he's talking about this at Token 2049 in Singapore. And one thing he said is, while a lot of people are looking forward to a rate cut, meaning that they think the stock market and other things are going to pump up the jam, I think the markets are going to collapse a few days after Fed rates. Are you like I'm seeing like a lot of this counter opinion now? Like everyone was saying bullish. Now everyone's like, as it's approached, everyone's like, okay, wait, this is actually bearish. So I'm seeing like not exact consensus on the timeline, which makes me like think it could go either way. Like before, like as it was all bullish, like I know you were one counterpoint. You were saying like, I don't know if this is good or not. But now I'm like, I'm seeing like as it comes from both sides, I'm a little more bullish. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, like they say, right? Like the markets are kind of max pain, you know. So like if more people are saying it's going to crash, then you should be feeling better about it not crashing, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, like the markets tend to do funny things. So like for example, right? If everybody thought that this is supposed to cause a crash, right? What would Mr. Market do? Mr. Market would probably go up only until the end of the year and then fucking like puke at the end of the year, right? It will stretch, it'll defy expectations, right? Like imagine being the guy in 1999 trying to short the fucking NASDAQ, you know what I mean? And you just go bankrupt 10 times over and then you're eventually right? So I could definitely see it being one of those kinds of things. It's so hard to get a read on it, right? And you know what the truth is, I think why it's so muddy and confusing is I think that the top 30% of the Western world is not in a recession. And the bottom 70% of the Western world is in a recession. I think that's why it's so confusing. Because I think that a certain population is still treading water despite the effects of inflation, right? And then there's a bigger subset of the population that's really struggling, right? But it's like those numbers, that's how it gets muddied, right? Because all of those numbers are blended in together, right? That's my like opinion. And that's the thing is like the top 30% and the 401ks just rolling in and people have all this money and they're taking it out of treasury bills, putting the stock market. That could keep the stock market continuing to go higher. We definitely haven't seen any sort of like economic indicator that's like, oh, wow, like hit the red alarm button, panic level, right? It's like, unemployment's creeping up a little bit. Like, I don't think you really need to panic until like Bank of America just implodes. like on a Friday night. Like you look on Twitter and it's like Bank of America is now bankrupt of America. That's when you need to be like, oh shit, okay. But yeah, dude, I wouldn't be surprised. Like here's the other tricky thing. What Arthur Hayes is saying is maybe it pukes for 3 days and then it just rallies and goes back above everything. That's the thing. Is like you can't fucking predict the future. Actually, you can on polymarket.com.
Yep, I was gonna say we have a 50-50 chance for a rate cut. That's coming at 2 p.m. today Eastern time. So make sure we check that out. Make sure you check that out. See what the markets, how they react. We'll cover all the fallout or the bullishness tomorrow if we don't retire on all the bullish gains from a rate cut. But that's gonna do it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you to all the commenters, everyone listening on Spaces and YouTube Live. If you want to listen to this podcast on the go or after the show, you can always catch it on every major platform for podcasts. You can see it on Spotify, Apple. You can rewatch on YouTube with video. You'll see our beautiful faces, all the different graphics we have up. But that's about it. Take care and have a great day. All right. Yeah, good show. They don't make phones like they used to anymore.
We're still live, Ray.
Oh, sorry.